Well, audience, you might be wondering why I'm in a corridor, in a very brightly lit corridor. Well, you're gonna find out.
Can I help you?
You're that guy on YouTube who does those amazing Hellraiser analysis videos that none of my audience has ever heard of, aren't you?
Well, I review Hellraiser movies, yeah?
Have I got a movie for you?
Oh my god! Well, this could be worse.
Greetings, gentle viewers. Necromentia!
Oh, fuck, I knew this couldn't last. Necromentia? Is that what you plan on doing to me?
No? You're not that lucky? It's just a movie? This is a tale of intrigue, horror, hell, damnation, rednecks, and general skeeviness. Imagine Hellraiser crossed with Duck Dynasty and you're about 80% of the way there.
It is also apparently something that I badly needed to see.
This is one of the great unknown gems of modern horror cinema. It's something everyone badly needs to see. How badly? Trying to watch it while sitting at the bottom of the Marianas Trench without a copy of it. That's how badly you need to see it. We open with... makes you wonder what exactly happened at Compound A. I'm guessing it had a short and tragic life before being damned to a very low-budget hell.
A very different low-budget hell from this one?
I hope so, or the movie will be really crowded. The mix of images in black and white flashing on screen during the credits make it look like the editor is terrified of being attacked by the weeping angels. Either that, or he set up all the shots and let an epileptic fit do all the actual editing for him.
What are you doing?
I'm making fun of a movie I love. It's what I do.
Well, it's not what I do. I talk about the themes, you know, that sort of stuff.
You're very good at that.
Thank you. Tell you what, why don't you do your thing, you try to be funny, and I'll actually review the film. Deal?
Try. Deal. We're then in the bowels of hell as imagined by Fritz Lang. An unlucky man was doing some family-friendly suspension play when he suddenly needed to go to the toilet. We're 2 minutes in and so far the whole film has been a pretty good mid-90s goth music video. Long may it continue. This guy looks like the dad from See Me Dance as one of our main characters, and he deserves whatever happens to him for letting people mispronounce his fucking name.
Welcome to your destiny, Hagen.
Hagen has followed his dead beloved Elizabeth.
It's Elizabeth. You know, as in anyone that's ever been called Elizabeth?
This movie can't be trusted with people's names. Therefore, I assume that the character is meant to be called Elizabeth.
Alright.
Hagen apparently didn't realise that following a girlfriend into hell is a bad idea because he's dead. And now he's stuck in down for all eternity by this rejected Hellboy character.
For that, you will be punished.
I feel he has a right to be surprised by this, actually, because following your lover into hell and not ending up damned yourself has a long and interesting history in myth.
Clearly, someone should have written, "Caution, not to be taken literally next to the myth of Orpheus."
That's just sensible for myths in general.
Then we're earlier on. Hagen's washing Elizabeth's body and obsessively talking to himself while she looks like she's starting to hold in a fart. And check out the magnifying glass! That's only there if he's to suddenly glance to his right. This guy is prepared for everything! Well, that's the best collection of sex toys a crazy person ever had. He's convinced himself that she's going to come back to life, and to help speed that along, he's turning her body into a steampunk cyborg. Without the steam, punk, or cyborg. Mostly he's just jamming shit up her. Dilate! 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 You have been dilated by the Daleks!
I remember when you died. And you told me that you would always come back. I'm beginning to feel like you didn't mean it.
Dude, you went from I'm gonna sexually assault you to bring you back from the dead to you're never coming back, are you? While in the middle of using the resurrection dildo. Are you sure you're not some kind of bipolar?
Because I'm afraid when you come back, there's gonna be nothing left to come back to.
You know, he's got all the body desecration and the muttering to himself, but I wasn't sure he was crazy until I heard the classical music.
I hope everyone realises that light is nowhere near bright enough to help in a room that well lit.
Oh yeah, you're watching too.
Yes, watching, taking notes for when I blow your attempt at reviewing out of the water, and able to make pithy comments all at the same time. Multitasking, thy name is me.
Amazing, you can do all that and be a twat at the same time. And then we're a couple of hours later as Colin Farrell as Chuck Norris has arrived to threaten Hagen via shaving.
Please take what you want and leave, please.
Hagan, I only want what's best for you.
It's a good thing too, Hagen was pretty disheveled. He probably hadn't been threatened in a few days. The big question is, how would this scene have gone if he was clean shaven to begin with? He'd probably just shave his eyebrows and talk faster.
I'm not opposed to what you're doing. You see, I lost somebody close to me too once. My little brother.
You should have seen what I did with dilators to try and bring him back. I had to wash the ceiling. Hagen, they have ways of making you as smooth as a baby's bottom. Long story short, Chuck Farrell's brother is dead and he found a way to bring people back to life. How and why? That's the sort of shit that'll be explained later on, in the past.
You both are just crazy.
We're not the ones fucking a corpse.
I have to admit, Hagen, he kind of has you there.
Yeah, so hard to argue with that, really.
So, Hagen agrees to Chuck Farrell's plan to bring Elizabeth and his little brother back to life. It involves stripping him half naked, suppressing the urge to fuck his fat Jaime Lannister soon-to-be corpse so he's not looking, and carving a Ouija board onto his back. You know, some people don't need scarification magic to send people to hell, we just shoot them in the head. Clearly, the second A in my surname is the source of my power.
I'm here for Elizabeth. Just take me to her, and I'll leave in peace.
You speak about peace after the pain you've caused me.
Oh, it's personal. Time to start guessing who the demons are then. Gas Mask Boy is the brother, maybe? And the other guy is clearly Gary Busey after he merged with a goblin shark. He'll be fine. See, just has to drag it off. He'll be up and about in no time. Anyway, we're then a year or so earlier. Chuck Farrell's going by Colin Norris, and he's getting angry at a lawyer. Probably the most normal thing that's happened to a film.
I loved my parents. I was very close to them, and I am not trying to profit from their death.
The fact that you were nearly yelling at me makes me inclined to believe you. Colin's looking after his ambiguously disabled little brother, and the $300 a month the parents left in the will isn't enough. They're living in shit, the house is falling apart, their clothes are ruined, and the TV's busted. This is undeniably tragic. But if you pretend the little brother is Miles Teller, the whole thing becomes hilarious.
But why Miles Teller?
Have you seen any of his films? The guy's punchless made flesh. Plus, he looks a bit like little brother. I want to know how they can be this broke and yet afford that giant novelty television. At the very least, they should sell that to an eccentric millionaire interested in future murderabilia. Anyway, Colin Norris is off to work. It's a good thing he arranged for an all-singing and all-dancing babysitter.
Come, boys and girls, give it a try. I see you with my pinky eye. I'm Mr. Skinny.
What were you doing?
Use a blade and take a side. Whoopee!
I'm giving the audience time to recognize the song, to remember that whether they're going to die exists, and to burst into tears.
Were you okay to continue, yeah?
Yeah, I'll just make sure the next couple of jokes are shit, just in case I can't hear it over their own blubbering.
Does anybody want a snack before the highlight of our evening?
Daft Punk's new concept album's a bit dark, isn't it? Actually, this is Colin Norris's day job. He's a dominatrix! Live from someone's basement, the undisputed king of the scene! The very, very niche scene, Colin Norris! AKA Sir, if you don't want your scars to be permanent! You know, after preaching to the perverted and Boy Meets Girl, it's almost refreshing to see a man torture a woman in erotic context. Sure, you could mention the vomit gore films as a counterpoint, but even just using the words erotic and vomit gore in the same sentence feels like you're humouring Lucifer Valentine too much. I don't know why this is supposed to be the most depressing part of the film. This is the best job possible. He's paid to cut attractive young women to pieces without having to worry about repaying medical school student loans. Literally half the men I know would kill for this job and then get overexcited and kill again on their first day, be fired and start the cycle again. When it comes to safe words, I think I've spotted a flaw. Maybe his problem is in difficulty in finding clients. I can't imagine the hot 20-something pain-loving woman okay with losing body parts demographic is giant and rural. Wherever the fuck this is.
Your time is up. Don't try to force it out. Lean forward and remove.
That's what he said! It is nice of Colin Norris's hair to fit under that mask, and for his long hair to fit under that wig. Oh, it's sad piano music staring at shit time. I am officially reminded that this is supposed to be sad. Anyway, it's time for a new drug and there's no high like a ketamine high, and looking at what's going on right now, that's probably a good thing.
I need your help. What do you want from me?
I want you to stop the camera tripping. It's really distracting.
This is a dream. Does this hurt?
Well, that was a short trip. Hey, what's Mr. Skinny up to?
Something's vibrating up my rectum!
Still being Jigsaw crossed with a sumo wrestling David Cameron. Good to know.
You ever thought about suicide? Huh? Would you kill yourself for me?
Given his brother's condition, maybe Colin Norris shouldn't have brought a clearly evil, demon-summoning television into the house. Just an idea. I mean, at the very least, you should have left it with a neighbour first to see if anything untoward and murderous happened to them.
300 is not going to cut it anymore. I need somebody to watch him while I work. If not, he's going to kill himself.
Can't you see how serious this is? I left him alone to tell you this! So, desperate for some more of that sweet, low-budget tripping visual effects, he injects himself with some more ketamine. And he's so desperate for it, he doesn't even sit down first.
Now that we have established I am not a dream.
I am clearly the asylum's answer to Ariel from Derek Jarman's version of The Tempest. I briefly considered using a picture of Ariel from Derek Jarman's Jubilee here to see if anyone noticed, but then I realised that if they did notice, they'd assume I'd made a mistake. Jarman fans are really pedantic about their gay fairies.
He looked like someone tried to make an ancient Greek statue out of tarmac.
You hate yourself. Poison yourself. This makes you vulnerable to my kind.
I'm not helping you.
Which I clearly signaled by choosing to come back here. I mean, how else would you find out? It's not like you're supernatural. Oh, yeah. By the way, your forehead feels amazing. So the grey guy warns Colin Norris that his brother is being stalked by the evil creature who lives in the TV set, and in retrospect, Mr. Skinny is kind of shit at keeping a low profile, isn't he? That's like Charles Manson heading somewhere shaped like a huge pair of crazed eyes with swastikas carved in them. But Manson probably would try that.
You're running out of time.
Anyway, he's arranged for an anti-suicide celebrity babysitter played here by Chumlee from Pawn Stars. He'll keep the kid from trying to kill himself through zany and obviously scripted side plots. Alas, the anti-pig demon babysitter cost too much, so this won't end well. Hey, if you have money problems as bad as these, why don't you start by selling the spectral piano? Preferably to another guy from Pawn Stars who's being angry at Chumley for falling asleep in a zany and obviously scripted side plot. Anyway, Chumley has fallen asleep reading a porn mag about people with impaired mobility, so it's some kind of justice, though probably not a very good one, when the little brother crawls across the floor and stabs him to death while being raped by a pig monster.
Just so you know, that's a sentence that probably shouldn't exist.
I say a lot of sentences that probably shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
I cut myself, I want you to cut me. When I feel down, I want you to slice me. I cut myself and make the vinyls references. Literally, all you had to do to not fuck up your job was not mistake yourself for a customer, and you still managed to carve a fucking Union Jack all over your chest. There have to be easier ways to summon the doctor to help you fight the crap-looking low-budget monster guy. For fuck's sake, at least carve the TARDIS into your chest.
I told you time was short. Clean up and go home, Travis.
What I don't get is why he deliberately keeps going to hang out with the grey guy in his wig. I mean, he gets there via ketamine or by carving shit onto his chest. Why not just not do that? I mean, he's made it clear several times that he doesn't want to see or talk to the asphalty one, so why not just not? Yeah, he's an addict, but he's literally just started on the ketamine and the self-carving. I'm pretty sure it takes longer than that to become addicted. Especially if you're being bothered by the asylum's answer to Doug Jones while you do it.
Clean up and go home, Travis.
Well, that's nice. He's left a roadmap for his eventual autopsy. So he rides back and is shocked to discover what's happened to Chumley. Oh man, the History Channel is gonna be so mad at me!
Thomas! Where are you?
You do realize that he can't actually talk, don't you?
Thomas!
And dude, calm down. How are you gonna find Thomas if you waste all your energy screaming about him?
Thomas!
You see, you're gonna find Thomas with great difficulty! Luckily, he's instantly sent back to hell, or whatever worst place this is. Pittsburgh, maybe? Mr. Skinny has somehow kidnapped Thomas and brought him bodily into hell or whatever. And David Bowie, the Stone Man here, has offered to teach Colin Norris necromancy so he can save his brother in exchange for fucking over Hagen.
You're crazy.
I hate to be the one to tell you this, Colin, but you're the one who's high, unconscious, and currently visiting hell, so you're really in no place to judge anyone else. Oh, and Mr. Skinny was working for Statue Boy because you should probably never trust demons. And then we're back in the real world, and I figured out why they're so poor. Colin Norris has a history of sleep book burning, and shit. These ones look expensive. These are his textbooks for learning necromancy, and given their age, I'm really hoping they cut out the 6 years worth of Latin classes he had to take to be able to learn to fucking read them.
Hold on, go back a bit. There! It's the Vitruvian Man! I didn't realise Leonardo da Vinci was a necromancer.
But you have to admit, it explains the Milanese zombie apocalypse of 1490. Why the fuck is Baphomet in English in a jaunty font? The rest of the book looks like something out of the Voynich manuscript! The big question now is why Chumley is still juicy. Either he was a freakish super mummy before being raised from the dead, or he can learn necromancy in a fucking afternoon. And believe me, it's a 3-week course and you gotta provide your own damn corpses! Now, the Pawn Stars audience wouldn't notice if he randomly fell apart mid-episode, so this can't be for their benefit, so I call plot hole. Anyway, Spando de Grey possessed Chumley and eventually they found Hagen. After sending him to hell for fucking up the name Hagen, Colin Norris was left in hell to try and kill the demons because overconfident.
Your knife will not work in here.
You might be a king or a little street sweeper, but sooner or later you end up in the dark, cheap basement corridor thing of hell, evil and pain! Listen, they're piping in the suffering like Muzak, just not as annoying sounding. And so begins the third and first story. Before he was carved from granite, the demon was Freddy from Scooby-Doo, who clearly went crazy after being able to solve a case and so glued some wigs to his armpits. He's dating Elizabeth, and when he's not doing bored-sounding dramatic voiceovers...
I have looked in every dark corner, tried every faith.
He's kind of mute.
You know, I wasn't sure what to make. Breakfast or dinner.
That must be why he's trying so hard to be Michael Wincott after he dies. He works as a barman and has to listen to the drunken blatherings of Colin Norris, who's going by Steve Kenobi at this point in his life.
and refreshing.
Sometimes drunk speaks the truth.
Fascinating insight John Hurt from another movie. At this point, the film decides that dialogue has kind of become optional. It's a bold move, especially seeing as this is easily the least visually interesting part of the film. Did I say visually? It's just the least interesting. Okay, so the wig on stilts is dating Elizabeth, in between having a mournful inner monologue that sounds like teenage angst poetry, but Elizabeth is having an affair with Hagen. Oh no!
Wait, she's dating the young, attractive, rent boy looking guy and having an affair with the fat, average looking crazy man?
Isn't that usually in reverse?
Yeah. Maybe it's fat, average looking crazy man self-insert slash fiction.
If I ever die, I promise you, I will come back.
Come back.
If only she'd ended with, no, of course not, lol. A third of this review could have been avoided. You know, I really could do with some more show and less tell when it comes to their relationship. But at the same time, I'm aware that they used more than their allotted amount of show on the torture. Just so you know, the Q-tip bartender is called Morbius, and after he dies and demonically fossilizes, he's still called Morbius. So, how the fuck did Steve Kenobi manage to not realize that the dead bartender from his favourite dive, who had the really fucking distinctive hair and name, was the demon with the same really distinctive hair and name? I mean, fucking hell, I know he was high most of the time, but he can still physically see! Anyway, conversations just got serious as Elizabeth is wondering who can rid her of this turbulent boyfriend.
God, I wish you would just die and just save me the worry.
So Morbius has to die because the shit that happened earlier on in the future didn't set itself up.
What the hell is this?
It's for Morbius.
I mean, what the hell is this?
It's herbicide.
Oh no! How did they know I'm actually a plant? Oh, my chlorophyll, it's burning up! Oh god! Now I know what a Christmas tree feels like! Ugh. Now, you can't expect Weed Killer alone to kill Adonis by way of Atrium Steps, so he's fed some more Weed Killer, which doesn't work either, before Hagen brings an illegal weapon into the ring and chairs him right into the bowels of hell. Or rather, the same part of the bowels of hell we've already seen over and over again.
He can talk.
He can talk, he can talk, he can talk, he can talk!
I can sing!
Ooh, help me, Dr. Zaius.
I love you, Dr. Zaius!
I'm dead. I killed her and I'm in hell.
This is not what I expected this place to look like at all.
Yeah, we got totally lied to by our album covers, man.
Save the tears, Morbius.
It's a waste of good suffering.
Weirdly, the cockatoo reacts to his girlfriend cheating on him with Chris Fuckman and murdering him by blaming himself for killing her in revenge.
She didn't deserve this. She put up with so much.
You know, movie, if you'd spent less minutes on the torture, then you could have maybe shown us why Elizabeth wasn't a cunt for murdering him. As it happens in the film, she's horrible, he's nearly perfect, and she murders him because she's jealous and he's a better actor than her.
Just fucking die! There's nothing left for you.
Though he's not much better. But by showing us all the torture, they saved us from the much worse torture of watching them try to do drama together.
You know, I wasn't sure what to make. Breakfast or dinner. Well, you know, if I were you, I would get a job at a decent hour.
This is bad drama. I know I said I love this film, and I do, but this is the weak part. So, in a weird twist, this guy tries to convince Morbius to adopt him as his hell baby.
I can call you my dad.
I'm not sure why either. He says fuck that and instead makes a deal. Turn him grey, let him talk like a Skrillex track, and give him access to fucking idiots on Earth so he can get his revenge, and he'll be Gas Mask Guy's slave.
When you are done, you belong to me.
And I'll probably dress you in a costume and force you to be my father. Or nah, he'll be forced to have the most unnecessary plastic surgery since Jocelyn Wildenstein and get turned into that thing. Which looks like Freddie Mercury was facehuggered and the xenomorph he gave birth to was assimilated by the Borg.
That's a really long and unwieldy description.
But still perfect. Anyway, that's him, even though he was already around when Hagen arrived in Hell, so technically he'd not had his revenge yet. The moral is that Hell is full of dickheads being dickheads to other dickheads. This film is fucking awesome! The last third, not so much.
Okay, are you done?
I'm never done.
Let's begin.
In Visual Intelligence, Anne Barry explains that visuals are a more persuasive medium for communication than the written or spoken word alone. She posits that visuals are able to more easily bypass our critical faculties. People like Roland Barthes and Jung look at visual archetypes and the messages that they relay to us by using the tenets of ancient mythology.
What's interesting about Necromentia is how it takes the mythology of Orpheus and then deliberately plays with the idea of agency.
Something that concerns a lot of the modern interpretations of these texts and is at the core of the horror genre itself. To quickly recap, Orpheus was a mean liar player back in the day. His marriage to the oak nymph Eurydice was scuppered somewhat when she was chased by a randy god. Whilst trying to make her escape, she stepped on a snake which poisoned and killed her. Orpheus refused to accept this death and so decided to travel to the underworld to rescue her.
And I won't tell you how it ends, just in case I get the spoiler police on my ass, but that's probably enough to go on for just now.
Yeah, because we all know that no one watches these because they hate spoilers. And by the way, audience, in Paranoia, Brad Jones is in hell the whole time.
The main point here is that Eurydice becomes the template of the trophy girl, a narrative style where the female figure is rendered immobile and has to be saved by her man. We see this continued in many fairy tales and folklore even to this day, the most two obvious examples being Disney's Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. All three protagonists, Travis, Morbius, and Hagen, all go through their own iteration of the Orpheus mythology, but with a more muddled and deliberately complicated look at agency. The labyrinthian presentation serves to further highlight the slippery nature of power, with the occultic manifestations providing the movie with its true other, a disruption to the power structures of the traditional narrative fare.
Oh, it's like having a Scottish Owen citizen in the room with me. One moment.
Travis, for example, is trying to save his disabled brother from the afterlife. Apart from the obvious change of gender in this trophy, the brother proves to be a credible threat, easily disemboweling the sleeping babysitter. The scene works in contrast to Travis constantly infantilizing him.
Okay, fine. Off, minion!
Right.
However, the influence of Mr. Skinny renders this violent agency skewed, as our perpetrator is being influenced by an entity stronger than himself. The important distinction between this character and that of Eurydice is that while Eurydice moves from wife to victim to object, the brother here is a victim and a perpetrator, and ergo is far more active.
Plus, the brother has bigger tits.
The blur between victim and perpetrator is most explicitly explored in the scene where Travis tortures and eventually mutilates a young woman strapped to a table. The scene is framed like a typical woman in peril scenario, until the end when it is revealed that the sequence was actually one of extreme BDSM. Not only did she want this to happen to her, she paid for it, and is annoyed that it didn't last longer.
That was short.
No, I only take cash. No exceptions for regulars.
Can I dress you up as a snail and whip you?
What?
Okay, fine.
Okay, continuing. In sharp contrast...
How do you feel about your nuts?
As a sharp contrast to the scene, we have Hagen washing Elizabeth's corpse. Sweet talking it the whole time. Here the act of bathing, most associated with care and love, becomes more chilling than the torture sequence because the woman as objectified trophy is taken to its hideous extreme. The movie posits that action is not the issue. Rather, it is agency and ability to consent that must be considered. With the BDSM sequence, there is consent. In the bathing sequence, there is not. No matter what the action, it is the lack of consent that makes it disturbing. With Hagen, the corpse is his trophy. His journey to the afterlife is forced upon him by Travis. His punishment for objectification is to be branded against his will and turned into a portal. Think of it as a supernatural objectification. His journey is one from objectifier to objectified, and it is a remodelling of the traditional narrative designed to strip this particular Orpheus of his heroism.
Can you sing the next bit?
No.
You might want to rethink that. I have knives.
Oh.
The arc that links all of this together is Morbius and his narrative. It is here the film becomes problematic for me. Morbius is a mute occultist who is the victim of adultery by Elizabeth.
Actually, stop that. It's worse for me.
When Elizabeth and her new man Hagen decide to murder Morbius, which comes out of fucking nowhere, by the way, it kicks the whole shit show off. Morbius searching for Elizabeth is more about vengeance rather than restoring the natural order. Indeed, Morbius' journey does the opposite, transforming him into the hideous, monstrous brute that stalks Hell's corridors. It is here that Elizabeth's objectification becomes...
And I'm using the world's biggest air quotes here, narratively justified.
Ooh!
Her necro-rape becomes punishment for her treatment of Morbius. Furthering this, we can take her decision to cheat on and murder Morbius as putting her into another famous archetype, Eve biting the apple, Pandora opening the box, and so on. For as much as the movie subverts archetypal conventions, it sadly, right at the last hurdle, falls straight back into old tricks. But I am not naive enough to think that cultural sensitivity was this film's aim. This is a joyfully sleazy horror flick which makes good use of its limited budget by creating a visual style saturated in deep shadows and spotlights. What this does is draw your eye to certain objects, the lack of illumination creating a visually economic film. This stretches the budget but also creates a sense of otherworldliness. We see what we need to see and everything else is cloaked in darkness. It drips with atmosphere, and despite my previous comments, I do think that this is a genuinely subversive take on the horror genre. For example, this is a horror movie that acknowledges that disabled people exist.
I know, right?
The representation may be problematic, but then placing anybody considered a minority into the role of the victim or the persecutor is going to be problematic. Horror is problematic by its design. It is its very function. It also undermines our cherished cultural narratives. Horror is where ancient narratives and primal fears intermingle. It serves to remind us that no matter how clever we get, we are still the old fragile ape people terrified that there might be a tiger in the dark.
You know what else would remind us? You dress like a schoolgirl!
I will not be threatened, and I will not be cajoled into dressing like a schoolgirl. I am perfectly capable of dressing myself up as a schoolgirl. Thank you very, very much. And not for shit reasons. Not to remind people of a joke that was maybe kind of amusing years ago, but for good reasons. Proper reasons. Like it gets me off.
Oh, I knew there was a reason I liked you. Other than the awesome and amazing analysis of Hellraiser movies. I'd like a review more than twice a year, by the way. Do you know something?
It gets me off, too.
Come on, then, you know, did not bring me here to pick up men.